Hello friends, I welcome you all on my YouTube channel Rasayan Setu. So friends, in this video we are going to discuss previous year questions of coordination chemistry which was asked in CSIR NET December 2017 exam. Okay, so let's start. Now see, this is your first question and it says, for the following complexes the increasing order of magnetic moment spin only values is, and we have four complexes, that is A, B, C, D, and we have four options. Okay, so friends, basically in this question we have to find the order of magnetic moment of these complexes which are A, B, C and D. Okay, and this question is coming for 2 marks, that means this is related to your part B. Okay, so let's do the solution of this question. Now first of all friends, we know very well that in coordination chemistry, for finding the spin only magnetic moment of any complex, we have a general formula that is mu s, which is equals to under root of n into n plus 2, where n is nothing but a number of unpaired electrons present in d orbitals of that metal ion. Understand? Okay, so now first of all we can find this spin only values one by one for each complexes given in your question. Okay, so first of all we find it for the complex A, that is the complex of titanium F6 3 minus. Okay, so now in this complex we clearly see that because fluorine is a -1 charge, fluorine has -1 charge and here -3 charge present, so that means your titanium metal atom present in 3+ oxidation state, and for titanium 3+ oxidation state it has one unpaired electron in its d orbital. Okay, so n is equals to 1, so that means its value of spin only magnetic moment will be 1 into 1 plus 2, so that means 1 plus 2 3 multiplied by 1 3, that is under root 3, so its value is under root 3. Now similarly we can find the spin only magnetic moment values for the other complexes. So for complex B, that is the complex of chromium, this is CrF6 3 minus, and in this complex you clearly see that chromium present in 3+ oxidation state, and in 3+ oxidation state chromium has 3 unpaired electrons. Okay, so that means here the value of n will be 3, so the value of spin only magnetic moment will be 3 multiplied by 3 plus 2, that is 5, so 5 multiplied by 3, that is under root 15. Now for C, that is the complex of manganese MnF6 3 minus. In this complex manganese is also present in 3+ oxidation state. Okay, and in 3+ oxidation state its electronic configuration is 3d4. Okay, and because fluorine is a weak field ligand, so so all these 4 electrons are present in unpaired condition in this manganese 3+. Okay, so here the value of n is 4, so it will be 4 multiplied by 6, that is 4 plus 2, so the value of the spin only magnetic moment in this complex is under root 24. Now for D, that is the complex of cobalt COF6 3 minus. In this complex cobalt is also present in 3+ oxidation state, and in 3+ oxidation state it has also 4 unpaired electrons. Okay, okay, so why 4 unpaired electrons? Because in cobalt 3+ it has 6 electrons in its d orbital, and because of fluorine is a weak field ligand, there is no pairing of electrons of d orbitals occurs. Okay, so that means according to this electronic 3d6 configuration it has 4 unpaired electrons, so the value of its spin only magnetic moment is also under root 24. Okay, so now we have the spin only magnetic moment values of all these complexes, that is A, B, C, D. Now we have to find the order of the spin only magnetic moment. So on the basis of this calculation we clearly see that the highest value of spin only magnetic moment is for C and D, then B, and least value is for A. So here we get the order, that is A is less than B, B is less than C, and C and D are nearly equals. Okay, that is under root 24. So the spin Lorentz magnetic moments of complex C and D are nearly equals, then B, and least one is for A. So this is order we get, and this order is related to your option 4. Understand? Okay, so option 4 is the correct answer for this question. Okay friends, now we move towards our next question, and see, it says in trigonal prismatic ligand field the most stabilized d orbital is, and we have 4 options. So we have to find the most stabilized d orbitals in the trigonal prismatic ligand field. Understand? And this question is coming for 2 marks, so that means this is also related to your part B. Understand friends? Okay, so let's do the solution of this question. Now for finding the most stabilized d orbitals in trigonal prismatic ligand field, first of all you have to idea about the splitting pattern of trigonal prismatic ligand field. Okay, so here we have the splitting pattern in trigonal prismatic ligand field. See, so in trigonal prismatic ligand field, splitting patterns is, generally we study the splitting pattern for octahedral field and tetrahedral field. Okay, we know in octahedral field the splitting occurs in lower T2g and higher Eg orbitals, and in tetrahedral field splitting occurs in opposite manner, that is lower Eg and higher T2g orbital. Okay, so similarly in the presence of trigonal prismatic ligand field there is also a splitting of d orbitals occurs, but here the splitting pattern is different. These 5 orbitals are degenerate d orbitals. Now the degeneracy remove when they interact with this trigonal prismatic ligand field. See, and they split in the 4 levels. See, two d orbitals are present at higher energy level. These are dxz, these are dyz. One is present at in mid, that is dz square. One is present in here, that is dx square y square. Okay, and the lowest one is dxy. Okay friends, so this is the splitting pattern in trigonal prismatic ligand field. A splitting pattern of d orbitals in the presence of trigonal prismatic ligand field. Okay, so when you observe this splitting pattern, you clearly see that the highest energy is for dxz and dyz orbitals, and the lowest energy is for dxy orbitals. Okay, so now on the basis of this splitting pattern, we clearly conclude that in this splitting pattern the most stabilized d orbitals is dxy. This because it is situated at lowest level, lowest energy level, that's why it is highly stabilized. Okay, and highly destabilized are dxz and dyz. So the your dxy orbitals is highly stabilized d orbital. Okay, or most stabilized d orbital, and this is your option second. So option second is the correct answer for this question according to this splitting pattern of d orbitals in the presence of trigonal prismatic ligand field. Okay friends, Okay, so now we move towards our next question, and see, it says the most unstable complex on the basis of electroneutrality principle among the following is, and we have four complexes, so we have to find the most unstable complexes among these four complexes. Understand? And this question is coming for 2 marks. That means that this question is also related to your part B. Understand, friends? So let's do the solution of this question. Now in this question, they talk about the principle, electroneutrality principle. Now, so first of all, we have an idea of the electroneutrality principle, that what is this principle. So friends, this principle says that each atom in any stable substance has a charge close to 0. This is a statement of the principle of electroneutrality. Okay, so according to the principle of electroneutrality, according to this principle, each atom in any stable substance has a charge close to 0. That means if a central atom has more positive charge, then it would be stabilized by a ligand having highly negative charge, that is more electronegative ligand. When you study the principle of electroneutrality in the case of the coordination complexes, then in this complexes, that if central atom, that means central metal atom, has more positive charge, because central metal atom bears positive charge. Okay, that means when it has more positive charge, so it would be stabilized by ligand having highly negative charge. So that means when it's surrounded with highly negative charge ligands, so they can be electroneutralized to each other, and their charge and their combined charge is close to 0, which is according to this electroneutrality principle. Okay, so I can write here that if central atom has more positive charge, then it would be stabilized by ligand having high negative charge, that is more electronegative ligand. That means the complex will be stabilized when there is a high positive metal ion and a highly electronegative ligand can join with each other. So this complex will be most stable complex. Okay, so now friends, in this question, that means this complex is the most stable when there is a high positive and highly electronegative ligand present. So they will be stabilized to each other according to electroneutrality principle. Okay, but in this question, see carefully, they ask you about most unstable complex. Most unstable complex. So now on the basis of electronegativity, on the basis of the principle of electroneutrality, what complexes are unstable complexes? So those complexes are unstable which has highly positive charge atom and least electronegative ligand. So that type of complexes are considered as a unstable complexes according to electroneutrality principle. Understand? So for finding the most unstable complex, first you can find the least electronegative ligand out of these four options. Okay, so in these four options we have four ligands. In the option first we have H2O, in second we have NH3, in third we have fluorine, and four we have NC tertiary sorry, not NCCH3. Okay, so when you observe these ligands, you clearly see that among them the least electronegative ligand is NH3 ligand. Okay, so NH3, because least electronegative, so the complex of this NH3 will be most unstable among them on the basis of the principle of electroneutrality. Understand? So your option number second is the correct answer for this question. So now first I can write here that most unstable complex are those which have least electronegative ligand. Understand? And in this question your option number second has least electronegative ligand, that is NH3. So NH3 is least electronegative among them. NH3 is least electronegative among them. So it will be least stable, simply. And we use the principle of electroneutrality for explaining the solution of this question. Okay, so your option second is the correct answer for this question, that is Al NH3 whole 6 3 plus. So option number second is the correct answer for this question. Okay friends. So now we move towards our next question, and see, it says for high spin and low spin D6 octahedral complexes, the generally observed spin allowed transitions respectively are, and we have four options. Okay, so we have to find the spin allowed transition for D6 high spin and low spin octahedral complexes. Okay friends, and this question is coming for 4 marks. That means this is related to your part C. Understand? So let's do the solution of this question. Friends, we have to find the spin allowed transition. So first of all we talk about D6 high spin state. So for D6 high spin state, there is only one spin allowed transitions. One spin allowed transitions are present according to our Auger diagram, and this spin transitions, one spin transition is from 5 T2G to 5 EG for D6 high spin. Remember, one spin allowed transition observed, and this will be observed in according to your Auger diagram for D6 high spin complex. Okay, but when we talk about D6 low spin complex, so first of all in the Auger diagram of this D6 low spin complex, we have two terms, that is 1s and 1f. So for D6 low spin complex, it has two terms, that is 1s and 1f, and 1s is singly degenerate, that is 1a1g, but this 1f is triply degenerate, that is this will be in triply degenerate, 1A2G, 1T1G and 1 this one be 1T1G and this will be 1T2G. So this 1f will be triply degenerate, this 1s will be singly degenerate. So this is orbital diagram for d6 low spin, remember. So now when you observe the orbital diagram for this d6 low spin complex, you clearly see that here we have two transitions are observed, that is one spin allow transitions from 1A1G to 1T1G, okay, and the second spin allow transitions from 1A1G to 1T2G, and this one is not observed because it is very high in energy. So generally in visible region for d6 low spin complex we observe only two spin allowed transitions. So for d6 high spin we observe one spin allowed transition, that is from 5T2G to 5EG, but for d6 low spin state we observe two spin allowed transition, that is one is from 1A1G to 1T1G and one is from 1A1G to 1T2G. Okay, so these two transitions, two spin allowed transition are observed in case of d6 low spin state. So now we conclude that for high spin we observe one spin allowed transition. Okay, so for high spin one transition, but for low spin two transitions. Okay, so according to this conclusion you clearly see that option number second matches with this conclusion. So option number second is the correct answer for this question, friends. Okay, see once again, so option second is the correct answer. Now we move towards our next question, and see it says the geometry around copper and its spin state for these complexes. The first complex is K3CuF6 and KCuL2 respectively are, and we have four options. Okay, so we have to find the geometry of the copper ion in these two complexes. Understand? And this question is coming for 4 marks, that means this is also related to your part C. Okay, so let's do the solution of this question. Now in first complex, that is K3CuF6, you clearly see that the complex ion is CuF6 3-, and according to this complex ion you clearly see that in this complex ion the copper central metal atom present in 3+ oxidation state, and for 3+ oxidation state its electronic configuration is 3d8, and it will be high spin complex. Why it will be high spin complex? Because it has a weak field fluorine ligand, so it is a 3d8 high spin complex, and for 3d8 high spin complex its hybridization is sp3d2, because we use outer sphere d orbitals of the copper metal ion for bonding, because okay, because inner orbitals are filled. See, these are inner d orbitals, they are completely filled. That's why these fluorine ligands will use outer d orbitals for bonding. So the hybridization is sp3d2, and because it has two unpaired electrons in this complex, copper ion has two unpaired electrons, that means n is equals to 2, and when there is a number, and when there is unpaired electrons present in the complex ion, that means this complex is paramagnetic in nature. Okay, so first of all, on the basis of this hybridization its geometry will be octahedral. So it is a octahedral complex, and it will be high spin and octahedral high spin complex. Okay, and it will be paramagnetic in nature. but in this question we have to find the spin state, geometry and spin state. Okay, so its geometry is octahedral and it is high spin complex. And friends, when you observe carefully, see the question, see the options of this question. So only option number first has this conclusion, that is octahedral high spin for K3CuF6. Rest all options cannot match with this conclusion. Understand? So nothing but option number first is the correct answer. So according to this option, the second one is the square planar low spin complex. Okay, so the option first is the correct answer for this question, that is octahedral high spin for first complex and square planar low spin for second complex. Understand? Okay, so now we move towards our next question, and see, it says, consider the following statements with respect to the base hydrolysis of this complex to convert into this complex. Okay, and we have these three statements, that is, A statements is one of the ammonia ligand act as a Bronsted acid, B is the entering group is water, and C says a hepta coordinated cobalt 3 plus species is an intermediate. So the correct statements is or are. So we have to find the correct statements among these statements, A, B or C statements. Okay, and this question is coming for 4 marks. That means this is also related to your part C. Okay, so let's do the solution of this question, friends. Now we know very well the mechanism of base hydrolysis. Now in base hydrolysis, in first step of the substrate, this is a substrate. In the first step, this OH minus ion will attack on this species, substrate species, and we get this complex C. Because it has ligands which has because in the substrate ion ligands are present which has replaceable or acidic hydrogen. So that's why this mechanism of base hydrolysis performed by SN1CB mechanism. So first of all, in the first step, the formation of conjugate base occur of the substrate. Okay, so in the first step, formation of conjugate base occurs. And in this first step, this is a conjugate base, and when you observe the mechanism of this first step, you clearly see that one of the NH3 ligand can donate its H plus ion, and according to the Bronsted-Lowry concept, those species which can donate H plus ion in the solution can known as Bronsted acid. Okay, so now in the first step of this reaction, the NH3 or ammonia ligand act as a Bronsted acid. So ammonia ligand acts as a Bronsted acid. Okay, so ammonia ligand acts as a Bronsted acid in the first step of this reaction. So now that means your statement A is correct statement. Now in next step, this conjugate in the now in next step, removal of chlorine ligand in this conjugate base occurs, and we get a penta coordinated intermediate. Okay, so in the next step of this reaction, we say that removal of chlorine ligand occurs. This removal of chlorine ligand occurs, and we get a penta coordinated intermediate. So this is a penta coordinated intermediate species. Okay, because 4 ammonia ligands and 1 NH2 ligand. So this is a penta-coordinated intermediate. So in the mechanism of base hydrolysis, we get a penta-coordinated intermediate, not hepta-coordinated, which is according to your statement C. So we get penta-coordinated intermediate. So now your statement C is incorrect statement. Statement is correct statement which states that ammonia ligand act as Bronsted acid. Okay, so this is correct statement, but statement C says that we get a hepta-coordinated intermediate, which is incorrect because we get a penta-coordinated intermediate in this mechanism. Okay, so statement C is incorrect. Now in the final step, the H2O ligand enters, H2O enters in this penta-coordinated intermediate and we get our product. Okay, so in the next step, H2O enters and we get our product. So this is product of this reaction. So here H2O is a entering group. Okay, which is entering group is water. Okay, so according to this step, your statement C is a correct, statement B is correct. Okay, not C, statement B is a correct statement because water is entering group. Okay friends, so your statement A is correct, statement B is correct, but statement C is incorrect. So we conclude that A and B is a correct statement. And according to this conclusion, you clearly see that option first contains statement A and B, because we have to find the correct statements. So statements A and B are correct statements, and option first contains A and B. So your option first is the correct answer for this question. Understand? See once again the complete mechanism of this question, friends. I hope you understand it. Okay. ओके सो फ्रेंड्स, ये थे आपके कुछ क्वेश्चंस जो CSIR नेट दिसंबर 2017 में कोऑर्डिनेशन केमिस्ट्री टॉपिक से पूछे गए थे. आई होप आपको अच्छे से समझ आए होंगे सारे क्वेश्चंस एंड उनके सॉल्यूशंस. एंड फिर भी आपको किसी भी तरह की डिफ़िकल्टी आती है किसी भी क्वेश्चन के सॉल्यूशन में, तो प्लीज़ कमेंट सेक्शन में आके ज़रूर पूछिए. ओके, सो थैंक यू फ्रेंड्स, थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग.